Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Red Devil Experience. Hope you're doing well. My name is Eric. We're getting straight into the latest Manchester United news. Big updates today surrounding the midfield. A lot of sort of a mess, really, as so why it's titled Messy Midfield, because there's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of, a lot of options going on in the midfield, but it is sort of a mess, especially with some of the updates that we gotten today. Okay, we also do have a new update on the manager situation of Michael Carrick, so we're going to get into that. But yeah, just a lot of stuff, Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali, Elliot Anderson, Carlos Baleba, Adam Wharton, so Angelo Stiller. So just a full sort of a Manchester United midfield target update today. And we're going to get into the broader discussion as to sort of what's going on and what this really means. We also do have a significant update from Fabrizio Romano regarding Manuel Ugarte, who has he's come out and said that Manuel Ugarte will be leaving Manchester United and we will be selling him, which for me opens up the midfield conversation even more, because we are still getting updates that Manchester United are going to go for two midfield options and then possibly go for a left winger and some sort of a defender. And obviously, I believe, and I've been saying for quite some time, two midfielders is not enough if we're letting Ugarte go. I don't have a problem with letting Ugarte go. I would let Ugarte go. I would sell him. But we cannot have just two midfielders to come into Manchester United. We are already one midfielder short, and we should have one right now, which we don't. We are losing Casemiro, and we need to replace him. And if we sell Ugarte, we need another midfielder. So, yeah, I mean, it's sort of been a big update day today, and, we haven't been live for the past couple of days, so there's been some other news, like Harry Maguire signing a new contract and stuff like that, which we need to speak about as well. So it's going to be a good show, jam-packed with a lot of updates. Bear with me with the updates from the news. But I hope everybody's doing well. Please make sure you're smashing the like button. Get that done, people. It's very important to the channel, to the video, to the live stream, to the show. And make sure you're getting involved in the comments, whether you're watching live or after it's aired. Comment, get in the live comments, comment below the video. Subscribe if you're new and you enjoy the content. And hit the notification bell icon so you get notified when we go live and you don't miss any part of the show. Brown Knight's here, Renoso's here, and Natasha's here. Brown Knight says, what did I miss? Actually, nothing. Actually, you're right on point this time. So, Renoso says, what's up, Eric? Stopping for a quick hello. What's up, brother? How you doing? You good? Everything's going well? It is sort of a big update day. So let's just start. I'm going to hit all of them because it's all about the midfield. Okay, so I'm just going to start going, and then we'll have one nice big discussion sort of about everything as we go. Good, headed to Costco. Nice. Getting some good stuff at Costco. For those of you that don't know what Costco is maybe it's like an Aldi, but bigger. I don't really know what Aldi's like. Well, I know it's like a supermarket or something like that, but maybe it's like a Tesco, but bigger. Something like that. We get bulk stuff, bulk cereal, bulk food, nice big packages for good prices as well. Costco's great. Costco is great. But eyelids are halfway down, Brown. Costco is the US version of ASDA. Okay, there you go. Good stuff. Good stuff. Hell yeah, time to stock up. That's what we like to hear. That's what we like to hear. All right. Let's go into the midfield stuff, okay? So this started very early in the day, okay? There's been some stuff about Elliot Anderson over the past couple days, but this one that we got so far, and a lot of this is coming from Ben Jacobs. He was on the United stand earlier, and I'll talk about that as well. But the first piece that we gotten was that Nottingham Forest are yet to receive formal bids for Elliot Anderson, but expect offers before the World Cup. Manchester City and Manchester United have both held talks with Anderson, a top target for each. City are confident of securing a deal, while United see him as their priority. Forest will push to keep the 23-year-old if they qualify for Europe by winning the Europa League, but a move to Manchester is expected otherwise. Okay, that's the first sort of update in the midfield. All right. The second update in the midfield follows this. Manchester United are not keen on signing Tonali due to his high fee and wages, feeling he wouldn't represent value for money. Also, Adam Wharton could be ruled out, with the club viewing him as too similar in profile to Kobe Mainoo. This is sort of the first update that we've gotten that is sort of dismissing both Tonali and especially Adam Wharton, because Adam Wharton has sort of always remained as a definitely viable target, but one that obviously isn't as high as, especially in recent weeks. Elliot Anderson, definitely, but also Sandro Tonali. But Ben Jacobs saying that Adam Wharton could possibly be ruled out in the going as well, with the club viewing him as too similar in a profile to Kobe Mainoo, which is, I don't know if I necessarily buy that 100%. I don't know. I would say that Adam Wharton is a similar profile to Kobe Mainoo. So I don't know if I buy that judgment if it is true by the football club. Certainly. Okay. We also then got other updates here. Back to Elliot Anderson, saying no club-to-club negotiation has taken place between either City or United and Nottingham Forest over Elliot Anderson. Is sort of a bit of a reiteration. Both clubs want to get the deal done before the World Cup in case of a rise in price. I believe the owner of Nottingham Forest apparently doesn't mind waiting to see if Forest win the Europa League and enter the Champions League next season, in which case he would want to keep the player. Further that, they said, I wouldn't read the media narrative too much that Man United haven't spoken to the camp of Elliot Anderson, says Ben Jacobs. Ben Jacobs also says, it's not that Tonali is unlikely, it's that he's unlikely if Manchester United can get Elliot Anderson. He's a little bit older than Elliot Anderson, and he's viewed as less value for money. I'm just going to stop right there. So he sort of said two things there. That if we get Elliot Anderson, we're not getting Tonali. So I think he's sort of making a distinction here, because maybe there's been a little bit of people going quite a bit crazy and thinking that United are going to get Elliot Anderson and Tonali. I think we would very much like that, but I don't think that was ever sort of the thing. And a lot of the reports really weren't reporting it that way. They were reporting it as Elliot Anderson is the main guy, the main priority target for Manchester United, and Tonali is plan B. And if we can't get Elliot Anderson, then maybe they move to Tonali, but they would prefer Elliot Anderson. They view him as more value for money with the age, the price that it would cost, probably the wages, as compared to Tonali, who is a little bit older, but not too old, but he is a bit older. He's going to cost probably around the same amount of money, but he's going to have higher wages than Elliot Anderson probably would as well. And he might be actually a bit more expensive than Elliot Anderson as well, because as we know, Newcastle are probably going to make it much more difficult than perhaps Nottingham Forest will do such a thing. Natasha's here, says, hi, how are things? I've had a really tough day. How's yours been? Well, mine's been good. I'm sorry to hear that you've had a tough day. I hope it gets better, or, if it doesn't, there's always tomorrow. Renosa says Wharton is closer to Casemiro minutes, the set piece goals, than he is to Kobe, in my opinion, minus. Yeah, I mean, that's what I don't really feel like, I don't really buy into that update. So, not to say that Ben Jacobs is making it up, but, if that's an accurate thing coming from the club, well, then, I'm a bit concerned by the people doing the scouting and the profiling, which would be Jason Wilcox and co. Because if you're trying to tell me that we're not going to get Adam Wharton because he's too similar of a profile to Kobe Mainoo, well then, I'm deeply concerned by these people in charge of our football club, because I don't look at Adam Wharton and say he is the same profile of a player as Kobe Mainu. So, I mean, if they're getting that wrong, what else are they going to get wrong going forward? Lyle's here. What's up, Lyle? How you doing? We're just going over the large midfield update that we've gotten today. One of the other things that he said is that, so obviously, in terms of Nottingham Forest or Elliot Anderson, to be more specifically, I do think obviously, people are saying that he's going to City, and I think they're just trying to sort of get a jump on the gun, or, they're going with the most likely option in terms of, they want to double down. Because City are favorites, they said he's already a City player and the deal's already done. Fine. You want to be, an in the know and call it early, go ahead. I don't really care. I think really where in reality, where it stands right now is City could very well be favorites. They could be in pole position, but I don't think, like I've been saying, I don't think the deal is anywhere close to being done, because I think City have definitely talked to Elliot Anderson's camp. I think United, if he's our number one priority, we should have done the same by now. So, and I think we did. Okay, so we've definitely contacted the player side, but neither club has contacted Nottingham Forest, and I think that's where we stand. So I don't think the deal is close to being done at right now, but over the next month or so, it will get there, because I think once the season sort of ends, I think final details from the player side should be sorted out, and then it comes down to club negotiations. And there's this other part that nobody's talking about, which is sort of a new piece, in that while Nottingham Forest also have a say over when they would maybe want to do the deal, and maybe this is why Manchester City or Manchester United have not necessarily contacted Nottingham Forest yet, because maybe there's sort of no point right now in doing so, because maybe Nottingham Forest don't really want to have these discussions yet. Because as it says here, the owner of Nottingham Forest, I'm not going to pronounce his name, but he apparently doesn't mind waiting to see if Forest win the Europa League and enter the Champions League next season. And if that's the case, the season must end, or they must sort of, the season would have to end, or, they got to get knocked out, pretty much. So while they're still in the competition, and they are playing tonight, it's a little bit on hold. So, I just think that, like, we'll get into why this is sort of a mess in a bit, but we also got an update on Bruno Guimaraes, as he was sort of considered to be an option a few weeks ago, no longer the case. But Ben Jacobs also said on Bruno Guimaraes, age is one factor, which some people did mention in the beginning, working against the player. And in addition to that, the valuation of Newcastle is still really high. Well, we always knew that. He is their captain, after all, and he is a very good player, by the way. He goes on to say United held a meeting with the camp of Bruno Guimaraes, but it hasn't led to anything else in terms of suggestions that they're going to enter the race there. And, I mean, fair play. And also, listen, only one of them are probably going to be allowed to leave Newcastle, and it seems like Sandro Tonali is the one that they have decided to cash in on, and that Bruno Guimaraes is the one that they want to hold on to. It makes a little bit more sense as well, because Bruno Guimaraes is a bit more experienced. He is their captain again, and I guess if you're going to pick to lose one of the two, you'd probably rather keep your captain, and maybe you're a bit more experienced guy, and get rid of the other guy, and then maybe sort of replace the other guy with maybe a less experienced player, but one for the future. Steph is here, says big up Eric, big up Lyle. What's up, Steph? How are you doing? How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's doing well. We also got it's a full midfield update, so just bear with me while I read through these, because I know reading the updates is kind of boring, but there is a lot of information here today. So Ben Jacobs has also said Tonali, possible but expensive. Elliot Anderson ahead of him. Wharton, very similar to Kobe Mainu. When they get that first midfielder, it will inform what direction they go with as far as the second one is concerned. A player like Matheus Fernandes at West Ham is definitely being discussed. In the past, they've looked at Ruben Neves, but that was something more short-term and opportunism. So he's not on the list. Joao Gomes was obviously discussed in January as well. Okay, and then moving on to Carlos Baleba, he goes on to say it's more 50-50 now whether United will follow up with the Baleba interest from last summer. The club liked the player's mobility, energy, and potential chemistry with Maino and haven't been put off by the season he's having, but no price will be known at this time. The media updates for a Baleba transfer have gone quiet because Man United already did all the legwork. The only part of the saga that could develop would be if Man United went to Brighton in a formal sense. That does make sense, and I will buy into that one on the Carlos Baleba front. We have done a lot of the work, especially from the player side to Manchester United side, and I do think that that has been hashed out for quite some time. So there's nothing really to report unless United actually go and make a move, which when you make a move, you have to go to Brighton and you have to now negotiate with Brighton over the fee. I still think that they're going to take the next, whatever it is, sort of time to figure out exactly who they're going to get. But like I've also said, okay, Elliot Anderson is their top priority. Manchester City are poll favorites for Elliot Anderson, but we would like to try and, compete with them and win. So, also by default, not only did we do most of the work, so there's nothing really to do, but actually, they're prioritizing the other guys ahead of Baleba. So Baleba could be a deal done later on, but it's not like we're going to go and put in the bid as soon as the season ends, because we're trying to figure out, can we get Elliot Anderson? And if we can't get Elliot Anderson and we lose out to him, well then, we probably have to go maybe to Tonali or the next guy. Then once we get that player, the second player comes into effect, which could very well be Baleba. But it's not really important right now, and we could do that later. So Baleba has gone quiet. I'm sort of in the same camp with the club as well. I'm not 100% too concerned with the season he's had. It hasn't really put me off. I would try and argue Brighton over the fee for that and get the lowest possible fee, and I wouldn't pay, obviously, the premium as if he's had 2 back-to-back wonderful seasons. But, again, I still think he's a young guy. We saw what he could produce. We saw a little bit of his low. I think it's a natural thing. But I still think he would be a good addition. So, been a long while. Yes, it has. Hope everything is going well, by the way. Mapuka says, why can't we get Baleba, Anderson, Tonali, Wharton, and Camavinga? We need a solid squad, and all these teams, City, Liverpool, Chelsea, etc., are fully booked, but we can't. Well, the first thing I'll tell you is there is no club that would buy Baleba, Anderson, Tonali, Wharton, and Camavinga. No club, not even City. PSG won't do it. That's super, super expensive, unrealistic. And also, we have the Glazers and Ineos are our owners. So, but we don't even need all those guys. We have Kobe Mainu, okay? And all we really need, in my opinion, we need 2 out of... Forget Camavinga. Camavinga's not real. But we need 2 out of Baleba, Anderson, Tonali, Wharton, Stiller, and maybe like Joao Gomes or Matheus Fernandes. We need 2 of those guys at the very least. We need a third one, of course, obviously after that. But we could do 2, but it doesn't seem like we're necessarily going to do and Anderson and Tonali. I think they would like to do Anderson or Tonali. They would prefer Anderson. And if they get Anderson, they might do something like getting a Baleba or a Wharton as the second guy. And then I don't know what they do from there, because they're still saying 2 midfielders. I still don't see how we do 2 midfielders, because we're going to get into this Ugarte update. So it's hard for me to go along with this, because my head just keeps saying 2 isn't enough. We need 3, and we should be looking at 3, and we should be getting 3. So my planning is different than what United is looking to do. At the very least. Work been hectic, and UPTV is live when I'm deep in meetings, lol. Eric is on when I need sleep. Do I put you to sleep, Lyle? Do you want fries at that order? No, he would like a nice giant sundae or a nice giant cake. Temizgin is here. Says, please, Will Cox make plan for midfielder Tonali. Anderson is better for next year, please. Ineos. Well, yeah. Again, this is the thing. Like, I don't think we won't do Tonali and Anderson. I think it's gonna cost him too. I think personally for them, and only they have the real detailed amount of money, right? I expect us to have money. They do penny pinch, so there's always that. And maybe they don't spend exactly what it is, as much as we can. They might be kind of a bit right for that, because the Glazers sort of put us in this mess. They got to kind of clean up the Glazers' mess. We unfortunately probably have to suffer because of that. So maybe we can only spend 75% of the amount of money that we actually have. We're not going to spend 95% of it, because spending 95% of it would put us in potential big, deep shit trouble. And you can't really operate the club like that. So it's not a defense, but it's just the realism of sort of the situation of what we're looking at here. And personally, I would go for Tonali and Anderson, but it does seem like they want to spend really big on one guy. So either Anderson or Tonali, and then go a little bit lower for the second guy. I don't think they're going to go extremely lower. I don't think they're going to get somebody that's like only worth 40 million. They could. I hope they don't, but I would assume, maybe like Baleba or something like that, you could get a deal done for 60, 70 million. Whereas Tonali and Anderson, they're going to cost you at least 80, 90 million, especially Tonali. Tonali, Newcastle are going to want 100 million, maybe plus. I mean, they got 120 million for Isaac. I think they would probably be looking to do the same for Tonali. So, is there no Joao Gomes on United's radar? That will be an easier deal to do first, surely. Well, the only thing that we were told is that Joao Gomes was obviously discussed in January as well, and it might be an easier deal to do first, but I don't think we should necessarily be doing the easier deals first. We should be doing the deals in the order that we need to do them in, and that is, if Elliot Anderson is your number 1 target, okay, he's clearly ahead of Joao Gomes. And Joao Gomes might be easier to do, but you can't do a Joao Gomes deal until you get your number 1 target priority. And I do view Joao Gomes as sort of, they're trying to, they have these 2 positions, and the first position is like, there's somebody that we're willing to spend a lot more money on and is going to be sort of the bigger role, bigger key to this midfield role. They want to secure that guy first. And those guys, whether it's Elliot Anderson, Tonali, or the one after him, they seem to have a lot of interest circulating them. So you can't really dilly-dally on that. You really have to be in the battle immediately on those guys, and you got to try and secure that guy and lock them down first. Then move on to the second guy, which looks like it could be Baleba or maybe a Joao Gomes or something like that, who is like the second supporting role. So those guys, to me, have sort of taken a back seat for a couple different reasons. There's less interest in them. Maybe they're a bit easier to do, but there's guys that are higher in the priority list of them, and there's not a lot of time to sort of sit on these deals. You have to act because there's other clubs interested, and we gotta battle this out first. Simon says we have so many targets to aim for to fill the midfield. If you could pick 3 targets, who would be your chief picks? For me, I've always said, and I would like this very much if we did it. I don't think it's going to happen. And I don't think it's what United is necessarily going to do. But me personally, I would go for Elliot Anderson, Tonali, and then I would go and sign Mateus Fernandes. Those would be my 3 picks. And we would need 3 targets. I think United can do possibly one that's more realistic, possibly for them to do, is something like I just explained. Elliot Anderson or Tonali. Maybe Baleba / Joao Gomes. And then I don't even know if they're going to get a third, because we keep being told that 2 is the aim. But with the update from Fabrizio today, basically saying that Ugarte is going to be sold, well, we definitely need a third then. So you look fully energized. The 2 days off did you good. Have you had a haircut? No haircut. Yes, 2 days off. I've also, the other day, I mean, I didn't get good sleep either the other day. Not 2 days, 3 days ago, I didn't get good sleep, so I was exhausted. Today I'm much better. Today I feel a lot better. So we're going. We are moving. But wait, the updates aren't done, okay? So let's finish these out, okay? Because there's some things on Stiller, a little bit more on Baleba. Okay, Ben Jacobs said if we learn definitively that Man United can't get Anderson and don't want to bid as big for Sandro Tonali, then Baleba could suddenly appear in late April or early May as a more marketable opportunity. So, I mean, I don't know. It's quite interesting because Ben Jacobs is sort of saying that Baleba is like the third option to Anderson and Tonali. But I do think their profiles are different, and it's still a bit confusing on how Manchester United are exactly looking to piece these two midfield targets together. Because obviously they need to complement each other to a certain degree, but also at the same time, they need to, where one lacks, the other has to sort of excel, which I guess goes into the same thing as complement each other. But then they also have to fit the squad in what the squad needs and what the squad is missing and what the squad is losing, in terms of a Casemiro as well, and how we're going to move forward in that. So it's still very confusing because they list you all these players, but the sort of clear partnership pattern in that we're getting this guy for left center mid and we're getting this guy for right center mid because they go together and they'll be like the glue. And, one provides us ball winning capabilities and passing. The other one is, good at progressing the ball forward and carrying it, and maybe a little bit more all-arounder. That is still like a giant question mark in exactly who are the two that are sort of going to partner each other. Because I would argue that there's a couple guys here that 2 of them together are very similar. Is that what United is going for? Or do they want like an A and B? Like one guy is one way, the other guy is another way. They're sort of a little bit of opposites of each other. Because you can pair it in a couple different ways. There's also a couple players that are slightly better in the attacking sense. And some guys that are better in the defensive sense and not as good as the attacking sense. There's some guys that are a little bit more well-rounded altogether that can give you a little bit in the attacking and the defensive side both ways. So, Lyle again sent 5 Red Devils Experience gifted memberships. Absolute legend. This is the 3rd time, I believe. Maybe he's done it again, but 3rd time sort of in a row. Big shout out to Lyle. If you got it gifted, Okay, shout out Lyle. Make sure you thank him. Absolutely massive. Love you, Lyle. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it, brother. That is amazing, man. Absolutely amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You do get little I don't know how to receive these thingies. They're random. So don't worry. He's not ignoring you, okay? He's not he's not they're random. You can buy one yourself if you want or purchase one, whatever, if you want, but when they're gifted, they are random. He cannot pick. So it just YouTube just picks whoever. But Cash has received one. Ken Grogan has got one. Litro, if I pronounce your name wrong, I apologize. RSV got one as well. And JC Visser has gotten 5 gifted memberships. Shout out Lyle. Axe is here as well. How we managed to get third place with this midfield, I sometimes wonder. It's because we haven't played a lot of games. We haven't played a lot of games in terms of throughout the season. And the midfield, listen, isn't that bad. It's just it's good enough for a certain level as well, okay? Also some of the other teams have been poor, right? So and have had their own issues. So even if their midfield is better, maybe our team was just more just playing better together as a whole. The defense has been much better, and the formation change has definitely helped as well to fit the players, okay? And so, some things might have compensated. But obviously the midfield isn't, it can definitely be stronger, and as we've seen in a couple games like Newcastle, we got overrun, and their midfield is better than ours, and it showed in that match, and it showed in a couple other matches as well. So, but I think we would be in deep trouble if we were playing some 60-something matches this season. So maybe we're able to get away with it a little bit. I think Cass, even though, he is on the older side and his legs aren't what they used to once be, I think not playing all those matches has helped us. Cass has been in immense form. Probably one of the best farewell tours you could do, He's making it all count. And, Kobe Mainu has been good since coming back into the team as well and regaining his starting spot. So, as always, he was, hey, Axe, do not say such things. Okay, do not tell people to go to hell. All right, or I will time you out. That's a good night gift, E. And Lyle has the power to time you out as well, but do not tell people to go to hell, okay? Lyle did nothing wrong. And if you can't behave yourself, I will time you out. And if you do it again, I will ban you. That's a good night, Gift E. Y'all behave and have a good stream. We'll catch you on the next one. Thank you, buddy. We'll be live tomorrow as well, by the way. So if you're around, come say hi. Thank you. Have a good night, Lyle. Appreciate you very much, buddy. I'm pretty sure there's a setting that I can set to enable receiving these things. I never get them. I don't know about that. There might be. I'm not 100% sure. There might be. I'm not 100%. Simon says, let's see how Maguire fares up in defense next season. I saw a bit of Maguire's goals since joining us, and some are crackers, but it didn't show any goals. Didn't show any own goals. Well, they're not going to show you any own goals, right? And he hasn't been. The own goals were seasons ago, so as far as I remember. So yeah, we'll talk about Maguire in a second. Let me just finish this midfield update, okay? So Stiller, if you're wondering about Stiller, we did get an update about Stiller today, and there was an update about Stiller yesterday as well. Okay. Visit this link. There you go. See Lyle doing his moderator settings and assisting settings. Visit this link to assist with gift settings. There you go. That is for you, Mr. Brown Knight. Shout out Lyle. Shout out Lyle. But we did get this update about Stiller, okay? And there hasn't been many updates about Stiller. There was one yesterday, and I'll find it and tie it in later. But this one coming from Ben Jacobs. Stiller is still on the midfield target list for Man United, but it's looking more likely that the club will go with Premier League proven players. He could still be a possibility. Stuttgart still have the option to override the player's release clause. So as a refresher, Stuttgart have an option where they pay 2 million. I believe it's euros, probably euros. They pay 2 million euros. Okay, that 2 million euros goes to Stiller. Stiller pockets that 2 million euros. They then, that 2 million euros buys out his buyout. So he no longer has a buyout. And then a deal for him has to be negotiated, and it could go lower or it could go higher. Most likely, if Stuttgart are going to do such a thing, they're obviously going to want it to be higher. So if they, at any moment, at any time, for example, if Manchester United or any club, I suppose this is how it goes. We don't know the fine details of the contract, but I'm assuming by these updates, the way they're saying it is, let's say Man United say we want to go get Stiller. So we go to put in the bid for the buyout clause. Stuttgart can literally at that moment to just pay 2 million and actually remove it. And United will then have to negotiate with Stuttgart over the price. Which is why I think that we haven't actually seen any movement from any club really over Stiller yet, because they're probably just waiting to see, or they're waiting for Stuttgart to do it, because everybody knows that it's there and they're going to do it if you go for the player. So I guess they're just trying to let it go. I don't really know what it is on that. Saying go to hell in Romanian. Is that what he said in Romanian? Yeah, it's fine. I mean, Lyle, you have the powers that be as well. If you want to, you always have my blessing to do what you need to do. So. He's trying to be smart, and he's trying to ruin the show. But we're not going to let that happen. Okay. So yes, so Stiller, all right, and then I do need to give you this update that Fabrizio gave us, and that we have an update about Miles Lewis-Skelly as well, if you're interested in that. But I need to give you this update by Fabrizio, because this ties into the midfield as well, and I've mentioned it already a few times now. But Fabrizio did give us a big update about Manuel Ugarte. So Fabrizio Romano on his YouTube channel. Okay, this was 2 hours ago, and it was breaking news. And he said that Manuel Ugarte has been offered to several Italian clubs, including Juventus. He was also proposed to Napoli in 2025, but they declined. Now he's expected to leave Manchester United. This is coming from Fabrizio Romano directly, with obviously Fabrizio being Fabrizio, but also Fabrizio is Italian, and he obviously has, if he's going to have, he has strong links to much information and sources, obviously, but being very well connected in Italy, and that's definitely probably his strongest out of all the things that he's connected to, even though he's well connected, he will know that Ugarte has been offered to several Italian clubs, including Juventus. So it does seem like Ugarte is going to be sold, which I have always felt like was the case, and I always felt like needs to happen, because I don't think he should stay here. I think we've seen that he is fairly limited. He is not as versatile. I would agree in the assessment of Ineos, or, our hierarchy, if that's what they've assessed, because there's been a lot of talk that United like versatility. He's not that versatile a player, and he hasn't really impressed. And also, I don't think he fits the way we're moving and heading. He was bought for Ten Hag. It's 2 systems later. And, and also I would say that, again, not every signing that we're going to make is going to work out. It's impossible for such a thing. And it does seem like he was one of the ones that just wasn't a good buy. They got it wrong on that one. He maybe doesn't fit the Premier League. It doesn't fit Manchester United. Italy will maybe be a better place for him to go. Like some other players. So, Ugarte in Turkey for sure. Well, he did have links to Galatasaray, so that is possible as well. But I do think that he needs to go. Now, I'm going to take Fabrizio at face value here, and he's expected to leave Manchester United. I'm still very concerned that our hierarchy is going to leave some sort of a hole in the midfield. Because they still keep saying that we're going to sign 2 midfielders. And I want to know what the plan is. Because at the very least, at the minimum, because some people will say, well, get Sekou Kone or whatever. But we don't know if that's going to happen. I feel like it's very unlikely to happen. They might do something like that. I don't know if that's good enough for next season when we're playing in the Champions League. We're going to want to improve or at least replicate our Premier League standing from this season, which looks like, 3rd, because it's in our hands right now. 3rd is in our hands. It's for us to lose. Obviously, do way better in the Carabao Cup and way better in the FA Cup. And I just sit here and think, well, you get me 2 midfielders, whether it's, Anderson, Tonali, Baleba, whatever. Pick your 2 out of there. And then you have Meno, and then you have some academy player as sort of the 4th option. I don't know if that's I don't feel like that's enough. I don't feel like that's going to be strong enough. I think we'll hit periods in the season where we're going to be in deep shit, where we're going to be looking at our options, and one of those guys is going to be injured. We're still going to be playing a bunch of matches. We're going to have one guy on the bench to rotate between 2 players. Maybe one of the guys aren't playing good, and they're not really being helpful. And the other one is an academy product that maybe isn't ready. So how helpful is he going to be? And then we have no more depth behind that. And we've seen Ineos and this football club make this decision. They just did it with Ruben Amorim, okay? We bought 2 10s, and we bought a striker, and we bought a goalkeeper, and we did not buy a midfielder, and we left a hole in the midfield. Now, on their gamble, to be fair, to a certain degree, they did technically kind of get away with it. Kind of. Because, it wasn't really necessarily working under Ruben. They got lucky in that when they sacked Ruben and they hired Carrick, it's gone so well for them. Because it could have not gone well. But it wasn't necessarily a good thing that they did under Ruben's system, because that whole thing with Bruno playing there was not the answer and didn't work very well. So I'm a little bit concerned about that, because I do think people are a bit concerned that they'll go cheap. And I think whether they go cheap or they just say we need to sacrifice, they'll say 2 midfielders, they'll get a left winger, and they'll get some sort of a defender. And they'll say that's your 4. And that's it. And I think that's still too light for the squad. Especially knowing that this club will not do business in January. Because if we did business in January, I would say, well, listen, all right, maybe you could do it and get away with it for a little, for the first part of the season. You go in January, you get the other guy, and then you finish off the season even stronger. But we all know they're not going to go and spend any money in January. So, Lucky says, yes, we will have mistakes, but we will settle it. Brian and Buemo change position. 7. Lisandro Martinez can come off the bench. Mazzawari takes start. Ugarte could join up with Onana. 2 useless lumps in one team again. Well, Lucky, how does Mason Mount have say in these games when Mason Mount can't stay fit? Ugarte is just a square peg in a round hole, so now he is a goodbye, yes. At this rate, we will sign just one midfielder with all this waffling going on. But yeah, but they can't do that either, though. I mean, Niche said that last time, Simon, and that's just something they definitely cannot do. And I said they'll sign 2 midfielders. I don't know what quality they'll be. I don't know what level, how exciting and how good it's going to look. But I don't think, like, if they sign one midfielder, nobody should show up next season. We should just wave a white flag. We'll forfeit every competition we play in and just say, fuck it. We'll go again next season. Because that's essentially what we're going to do anyway. There's no way we sign one midfielder and sell Ugarte and have one guy plus Kobe. We'll have 2 starting midfielders for the entire season. That's not, just end the season before it starts. Just wave the white flag. So I don't think they'll sign one guy. I think they'll sign 2. I don't know what quality of level they will be. Okay? It could be like Joao Gomes and Baleba, which people won't be excited as if it was Elliot Anderson and, Wharton or something. I don't know. Whatever. Pick your 2 favorites and pick your two least favorites, whichever they are. And think about them in your head and think about, well, if we had these 2 guys, I'd feel very excited. If we get these 2 guys, it's not going to hit the same. If we reach UCL. No, we will reach UCL. That's not even that's not even a concern of mine. We're definitely getting UCL. If we don't get UCL, we'll just change our name to fucking Tottenham or Arsenal. Because how you bottle it from where we are, off of what we've done at this point in the season with 7 matches left and playing once a week, would be phenomenal. Phenomenally horrible. Carrick is not Santa. We just can't pull midfielders out of a sack. We could end up panic buying again and the birds go cheap. But I don't think they're panic buying because I think we have a very extensive list. It's just about getting it done and getting the options correct, which is what worries me more. I don't think they're necessarily panic buy because we do have this big list. We have plan A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. The only cause for concern is if we end up with F and G instead of like A and B or B and C. That's the only real thing that is the big sort of concern there. Then we're working on Stiller transfer after Tushimeni. I don't think we're getting Tushimeni, and I don't think we're getting Camavinga. And Stiller, I think, like, see, even in this case, I would say United could possibly do something because listen, Stiller is a bit cheaper. Okay, Stiller could probably go for around 40 million. So in my opinion, that we need to sign 3 midfielders. Like, you can get like Elliot Anderson / Tonali. You can then get maybe like Baleba or somebody that costs a little bit less, somebody for like 60 million. And in for the third position, you could get Stiller or you could get Mateus Fernandez. And that sort of satisfies a lot of the things because you're getting 2 players that are Premier League proven, which is what Manchester United want, which is why Stiller is further down the pecking order as well because he's in the Bundesliga. If you get 2 guys from the Prem and then you get Stiller, I think that's like it's a good balance. It's fine because at least you're getting the two main big guys or bigger guys, or two out of the three from the Premier League. So that sort of ticks those boxes. And the third one you could take a bit more of a gamble on. At least it'd be something new and different. Or you could go all three from the Premier League, which Mateus Fernandes plays for West Ham, and he should be around available for about the same price as Stiller. Other clubs seem to pounce quicker than we do. We missed out on some good players. Well, yes, to a certain degree. But I think part of that is because they're also just in a better position than us. In terms of, it's a bit harder for us to compete because of what we've been over the last few years. So, unfortunately, I don't know if they necessarily move much faster than us, but in terms of, I don't think we're necessarily dragging our feet on these things. I just think it's sort of a scenario of we almost have to do double the work. You know, it's almost like I sort of picture it like you're walking through sand and we're carrying 3 sandbags on our shoulders. The other clubs are carrying like half a sandbag. So we're still doing the same amount of work and we're still going at the same time, but they're sort of carrying less baggage. So players in negotiations, one, the club has more financial freedom, and two, they're a bit of a better status. So when they negotiate, it goes a lot quicker for them than it goes for us because they're more inclined to agree more easily with these other clubs than us because of how we've been over the past few years, or, you know, the last 13 years, whatever. I mean, it depends how long the player like looks at the whole thing. And we have to work twice as hard or triple as hard to sell the project for that reason. So it's a bit more nitty gritty for us. So I think that's why it feels like we're slow. I don't think it's necessarily because they're kind of just sitting around and doing nothing. I think it's just because we're always sort of, because of what we've been and the position we're sort of in, we're always sort of fighting an uphill battle compared to these other guys that are just walking on flat surface. Cowabunga, or however you pronounce his name, could go to Liverpool. Transfer window not open yet. Not worried. Don't know why you all are. Jump pie in skies. Lucky. Because this is a big implication, and the transfer window doesn't need to be open for clubs to do deals. Manchester City, if they want, and if any club wants, and if it's there, they can literally go put in a transfer bid right now. Especially if you have money. They can go and secure a player right now before the window even opens. The transfer won't go through till it opens, but they can, Manchester City, if they want, or any club, if they want, they can go and they can put in a bid right now to any club, to any player that they want. Now, some of the circumstances might not make that happen in terms of, for example, Nottingham Forest might not want to really negotiate right now because we have the update that they want to see if they get into Europa League, into the Champions League by winning the Europa League. So if that's the case, you can put in a bid, but they're not going to negotiate it. They're not going to, they're just going to reject it. So you're going to have to wait. But if there is a deal to be done, you can literally go do it. And there is a World Cup, and some players might move before they go to the World Cup, and other players will happen after they go to the World Cup. So this isn't like there's a short period of time from when the season ends to when the World Cup that there might be a couple deals that you need to be right on top of and get that done. And they're looking to get done. Bro, I gave them a perfect transfer list. It's that easy for them. I wrote the list a few streams ago. Idiot Ineos just have to do as I say. each window that comes, we focus on one specific player. Sometimes another club will get them first, or they stay at the club for another season. Take Watkins, for example. But yeah, but Watkins, we chose not to do that deal. Watkins, we chose not to do it. We could have maybe done it, but we chose not to do so. And I mean, Watkins wasn't spoken about in June. Watkins came about later on. We first went for Delap, and we didn't get him. Then we went for the 210s. Then we went back to the striker. And Gyökeres was the other guy that was always constantly mentioned. We didn't get him either. So, but I think that's fine because I don't think we're necessarily like that. I think once upon a time we were like that. I think, prime example, Jadon Sancho. We spent 2 summers trying to get him. We didn't look at any other right winger. It was only Jadon Sancho. And it was Jadon Sancho or nothing. And for a whole year, it was nothing because we couldn't get Jadon Sancho. So we bought nothing. And then we went back in for Jadon Sancho, which took a whole nother summer just to get him in. And then obviously that went the way it went. And we've had a couple other things like that. Under Ineos, we've had a couple different targets available. And then we've sort of picked one from the pile and gone with it. So, in the midfield, we have a lot of options. I don't think there's, somebody's got to be the priority. They made Elliot Anderson the priority. But I think if we don't get Elliot Anderson, we're going to move on to the next guy. And if we don't get the next guy, we'll move on to the next guy. I don't think we're going to be stuck chasing one specific player for the entire summer. In the last window, Chelsea couldn't stop buying. In the following season, Forest did the same, and both clubs had enough for 2 more teams. We're buying 3 midfielders for the price of 67 million. I don't think we necessarily are. Villa are up 2-0 tonight. Forest 1-1. Palace 2-0. Dortmund are making a 3rd bid for Sancho. Good. I hope they make 17 bids for Sancho. Yes, Brown. That's exactly what's happening. That's exactly what's happening. There's also this story. Let's bring this in now, real quick, okay? There is this story, by the way, that now, what the hell just happened? There's this story that apparently Morgan Rogers is set to leave Aston Villa. He's been linked with us and Arsenal and Chelsea and PSG. This comes from Jay Burton, The Telegraph. Morgan Rogers is set to be one of the Premier League's most sought-after players this summer, with near £100 million battle involving United, Arsenal, Chelsea, and PSG. United holds strong interest, while Aston Villa are expected to demand over £80 million, potentially rising to £90 million if a bidding war begins. Here's the thing. I don't think this will happen. I think he's a really fantastic player. He's had a fantastic season. He's a really, really good player. I just don't see how United spend 80 to 90 million, maybe even 100 million on Morgan Rogers when we need to sign 2 midfielders and we're going to spend at least 80 million on one or close to it. So I'm not buying into this. I think as we always are, we're always linked to every story, but I just don't think it fits what they're gonna do. I don't see how they're gonna spend that much money on a winger. I do expect them to get some sort of a winger, but I do think that they're gonna go decently fairly cheap on the winger. I think the winger will probably, if we actually end up getting one, but it's been reported that that's where we're looking to bring in a left winger. $40 to $50 million at most on a winger. I don't see how they spend 80 to 90. So I don't, I don't expect this to happen in any way. I just don't see it happening. I think it's way out of reach for us, considering what we need to do and what we're looking at right now. I would offer a 6-pack and a beer of Chris for Sancho. I would offer nothing. I wouldn't take him for free. I wouldn't take him if he paid us. Yeah, like Brown Knight says, you're overpaying, Simon. We will buy 3 midfielders, not worried. Joao Gomes, Amadou Onana, and Stiller. You think so? You think it's going to be Gomez, Onana, and Stiller? Now, I'll ask the rest of the people in the chat. What happens if we buy Gomez, Amadou Onana, and Stiller? What do you think of that for a midfield 3 for next season? How does that make you feel? Because they could do such a thing. It could look something like that. Yes, Lucky, we know. Ugarte is leaving. We get it. Denied, says Axe. Both are not being... Who's both are getting sold? Casemiro is leaving on a free transfer. He is not getting sold. And Ugarte is getting sold. But I will tell you, every update that we keep getting from every credible journalist is saying that Manchester United are looking to sign 2 midfielders. 3 makes sense, and 3 is needed, but I have not seen the club talk about signing 3 midfielders. We have not gotten a single update that says United will sign 3 midfielders. They keep saying we're going to sign 2. How about raffling Sancho off as a poopy prize? I think that's unfair to the person that wins. But yeah, I mean, there's this Morgan Rogers story. I mean, I would take Morgan Rogers every day of the week. I just don't see how it's done, because we spent a lot of money on the attack, and the whole plan, basically from last summer throughout this entire season and year, has been we've rebuilt the attack, and now we're going to do the midfield. So I don't see how we're going to spend the majority of the money on the midfield and then go and spend 80 to 90 million pounds on a left winger. So I do think that, listen, Morgan Rogers could leave or will leave, but I don't think he'll be coming to Manchester United. And if he does somehow end up coming to Manchester United, I would say that, well, then Ineos have decided to deviate from the plan that they've been literally talking about for a year. And if they deviate from the plan, well, then what happens to what we're doing with the midfield? Because somewhere something's got to give. If you're spending 80 to 90 million on Morgan Rogers, who's going to be your winger, well, then the midfield, obviously, the rebuild in that is not going to be as great as people are or have been expecting, or as Ineos has been stating that they're going to do. So somewhere something's got to give there. I mean, if you're going to do the midfield rebuild in the strongest possible way, you're not going to be able to get Morgan Rogers for 80, 90 million. If you want to go get Morgan Rogers and you think, listen, he's a player that ticks all the boxes and, you know, he wasn't available before, now he's available, so we want to change course of action, they could very well do that, but that means that that plan for the midfield now has to change, because we're not going to have the money to be able to do it as good as before, because right now, again, it looks like you spent the brunt of the money on the central, and then the winger, you probably get like a cheaper option in terms of like maybe somebody for 40 million or something like that. if you spend an extra 40 million on the winger or 50 million, well, that budget's coming out of the midfield, isn't it? We're not getting Bruno Guimaraes, and we're not getting Tuchemeni. And Stiller is not necessarily prime option because he does not have Premier League experience, and the club want players with Premier League experience. They've stated this for months now. So Stiller could be done, but I don't think Stiller is an option in the way that you're stating, Lucky, because he seems to be fairly down the pecking order, and he seems to be sort of a plan D, E, or F, in that if we can't sign the other guys, then maybe we end up getting Stiller. But doesn't seem like they're that super interested in getting him because they have about 4 or 5 players ahead of Angelo Stiller, and they're all from the Premier League. And I understand that we're selling all these players and we're getting money in, but we also still owe a bunch of money on transfers that we're going to have to pay because we pay once per year. They're all amortized, but we owe, I think, 300 or 400 million on transfer fees. Still, we're going to have to pay some of that. Maybe it's like 100 and something. So we're going to have to pay some of that. We have operating costs. So we don't have unlimited money. And they're not going to spend, let's just say we have 300 million that we can spend. They're not going to spend 300 million. Because one, that would be stupid because of the situation that we're in. And two, they probably just, I mean, they do like the penny pinch. So, but if we have 300 million to spend, they won't spend 300 million. They can't. So they'll either have to spend 250, 220, 200, whatever it is, 225. They're going to have to leave something left over in the reserves. For sure. One, two, three, four, 35, 67. So last summer, we signed 2 EPL proven players in Cunha and Buemo, 1 risky gamble in Sesko, and a data-backed calculated gamble in Lemons. I would like to see more data-backed, lower-price signings. Well, apparently, you know what? To be fair, I would as well, Brown. And I don't know. They did feed us some of that. I guess sort of PR. It is right now. I would say it's PR because that's all it really is right now. I mean, it's just words. So until we see some action followed up on that, but apparently, the guy that we signed from, where did we get him from? Formula One or whatever it is, that we put in this position for data back driven science and stuff. Supposedly he's revamped the whole department, and that's going to be a driving factor as well. So I don't know. So we'll see if any of that actually comes into play. But I still think even so, I still think even if we replicate something like that this summer again, okay, we signed sort of 2 proven EPL players, one of a bit more of a risky gamble on a third, and maybe you get like a data backed calculated gamble, in the fourth. I think that'll be. I think that'll be fine for what they would like to do. So McLaren, Mercedes, yes. What's his name? Like Michael Sensori or something like that. My friend, our club is too cheap to invest adequately in our midfield, backs, strikers, keepers, and wingers too. But the thing is, you say too cheap, okay? And I will argue that we can't. Like we physically can't. Because we don't have the money to do such a thing. Like you say adequately, define adequately in terms of what players are you signing in all of those positions. Because to invest in the midfield backs, a striker, a keeper, and wingers, that's a lot of money. We don't have a lot of money. We'll have more money this season than we did last season, but we're still $1 billion in debt. We still owe $400 million on transfers. So we can't just spend, even if they wanted to spend $500 million, and let's just say for argument's sake, they want to spend $500 million, they literally cannot spend $500 million. Because we physically can't. We would be in giant financial trouble if we do so. We would stand in contention of getting fucked by PSR and whatever the UEFA one is. And if you do that, and here's the thing. Let's say we have $300 million to spend. If you spend all that $300 million and next season doesn't go well, next year is going to be way worse because we're going to be in a way worse position. We won't be able to spend any money at all. So, proper operations of the football club, you should not be spending close to maximum capacity that puts you in a very bad spot to get really fucked over. Unfortunately, the Glazers are the ones that did this to us, and now we have to deal with their mess, and we are limited. Sounds so strange that a club that we grew up watching record 500 million revenue has no money. Yep, that's what happens when you run it like shit. You know, that's what happens when you sort of just run it into the ground, which is why, again, like this is why it's a very hard thing, because people just listen. I obviously don't trust the Glazers, and it's hard to trust Ineos because Sir Jim is a businessman and he did a deal with the Glazers, okay? I get that point. But also at the same time, there is an aspect that is truthful there, that the club has been in a very bad financial position over a certain period of time, and you need to take care of the finances to reverse it. So when they do penny pinching, I do understand why they do it to a certain degree. It could be there is a part that they're greedy, but also it does make sense on paper. Like, you gotta fucking rebalance the books. But people just want to run to one extreme to the other extreme, and I'm like, well, unless somebody came and bought this club and cleared everything off, anybody that comes to this football club and doesn't clear it off, they're going to have to do the same shit. You're going to have to rebalance the books and clean it up financially for it to operate properly again. Agreed, this is why we needed a full sale. But the thing is, we're never going to get a full sale because people don't understand that the Glazers don't take L's. They've never taken a loss. They won't take a loss. And they will not relinquish this club until they decide. And nothing will ever... They will not end up ever in a position where they are forced into a sale. The only time that they will sell is when they choose to do so. And that may be fucking never, because they may very well keep this thing till they're old and in a hospital bed, and when they pass, it goes to their children. This is what rich billionaire people do. So, unless somebody comes and gives them the money, but they're asking for a lot of money, and you need somebody out there that basically just says, fuck it. I'll, you know, I don't know, what, maybe it's like their dying last wish or something. You know, I don't know, the chances of that is probably like 0.0001%. There's not some mega rich billionaire guy out there that's a diehard Manchester United fan like us that's going to say, yeah, let me just go give the Glazers like 12 billion to get them the fuck out of there. Even though the club's not worth 12 billion, I have to clear all the debt and I got to invest another 2 billion into the team. and facilities and whatnot, just to liberate the team. It's never going to happen, and we're never going to empty the stadium. So they're not going anywhere, are they? We will lose Casemiro. We lost Ericsson, and we signed Harry Maguire too. Well, Cass is going. Yes, we know that. Ericsson needed to go. And we should have not kept him here. And he needed to leave on a free, and his time was up. And yes, we signed Harry Maguire. And we've given Harry Maguire, we don't know the wage, as far as I have not seen the wage, but we did give Harry Maguire a 1-year contract extension with an option for a further year if the club so chooses to take it. He's basically essentially said that he wants to basically finish his career at Manchester United. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I've been saying that if they do such a thing, fine. I think, obviously, maybe the wage will dictate it a bit more on how it feels or looks. But I think it's fine to keep Harry Maguire. I don't have a problem with him staying. We have a job to do in the midfield. We got to get another position or two. And then 1 year's time, he'll be 1 year older. And then hopefully we have a good season. We'll have some good money and a good standing. And we'll make some progress. And we'll have some stability. And then we can continue on the path of fixing up what needs to be fixed up. So centre-back is an area that probably has to get touched again because of the injury worries of De Ligt. We have a big call coming up on Martinez. His contract is running down. Is he going to be able to stay fit? Are we going to give him a new contract? If he stays fit, I think we will give Martinez a new contract. And he's not deemed injury prone. I think Martinez will stay, and I don't think Martinez will go anywhere. Then we got to see what happens with De Ligt, and then we get to make a call on Harry Maguire as well. Could keep him around again for 1 more year. Could let him go after next season. You don't have to extend the contract. Buy 1 more year. We have Heaven and we have Euro, who are the 2 young guys. So, see, if we had that much money, we wouldn't be sitting on our asses watching you at 5 a.m., would we? No. No, we wouldn't. I wouldn't be here sitting on my ass either. I wish we as supporters could save our club. I do too. But, you know, it's not reality. Lucky says he's pretty confident getting 5 players. Well, I was kind of confident in getting 5 players last season, and we only got 4. And I kind of feel like we'll probably get 4 again. Which is a bit of, you know, I think we do need 5. I think we need 3 midfielders, a winger, and go get somebody in the defense. Left back, right back, whatever. Pick whatever one you want. I don't really care. Get it done. Get somebody in. But this is a disgrace. What have we done over the international break? Nothing. What do you mean? What have we done? Omar? What do you mean by that? What do you mean, what have we done over the international break? What were we supposed to do over the international break? To round out the last pieces of news, okay? And then we'll just talk about whatever you guys really actually want to talk about, all right? But the one update, Manchester United are eyeing Aston Villa midfielder Amadou Onana as a backup option if they miss out on Elliot Anderson. Seems like every player is a backup option to Elliot Anderson. This is what I was kind of saying before, is that we still don't really know what is the actual plan for the pairing. Because at the moment, and maybe this is just the media's fault, okay, but at the moment, it's like Elliot Anderson is the top guy, and everybody else is his backup. and that's fine. But then they tell us that we're going to sign 2 midfielders, and okay, that's fine as well, I guess. But then what is the plan with the 2 guys? What is the actual plan for the profile? What is the actual plan for the 2 guys that you're signing? Do you want 2 balanced guys that can do a little bit of everything? Do you want one guy that's better at attacking, one's better at defense? They balance themselves out that way. Do you want 2 more defensive type players than forward players? What, that's the answer we don't really have. And so we have this great big giant list, but it's just like Elliot Anderson is the god, and then everybody else plays second fiddle to him. And it's just like, well, yeah, okay, but how is this actually going to shape up is what I would like to know. I would like to know what the actual pairing plan is. Because right now we're sort of just in like, take a dart and throw it at the board and see where it sort of lands type of thing. Past Elliot Anderson. If we had a little bit more of a clear direction from the club in saying that they would like, 2 very balanced center midfielders, well, that narrows down some targets. If they say they're looking for one that's good at going forward and could help defensively, but the other one they want him to be more defensively, well, that narrows down some players. After you get the first guy, we can kind of know what direction the club is going in. But right now, it just kind of seems like we just want Elliot Anderson. And then after Elliot Anderson, we'll sort of just figure it out. And I'm just like, well, that's not really... it doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence that we'll just figure it out. We should have it figured out already. And I would hope maybe at least that they do have it figured out, but we're just not getting it in the media. So, we didn't interview managers or interview players. Well, I tell you, we're not interviewing managers. Well, hold on. Well, listen, we may have very well done so, but they might be keeping a lid on something. So, on the manager front, okay, one of the things that we were updated is that actually, behind the scenes, there's a lot going on. I'm reading this straight from the update. This isn't from me, okay? Behind the scenes, there's a lot going on that just hasn't made the media because Manchester United want to try and keep a lid on things. The last thing Manchester United want to do, and it's logical and smart, is run a very public process where they're interviewing Nagelsmann or Areola or having a meeting with Luis Enrique, because that could also be quite demoralizing to Michael Carrick. It doesn't mean that conversations are not taking place with other candidates. So, I don't know, you can choose to believe whatever you want. I don't really know how I feel about that. We do get a shit ton of updates and things sort of tend to leak. It's this game that we play. The club put it out. They do PR. They can't stop it from happening. People make shit up about us. Pick your angle. But, I don't know. That could be pure bullshit because they just intend to give it to Carrick, so they're not really talking to anybody. Or that could be true. I mean, that angle does make sense to a certain degree. Okay, you have Carrick doing a very good job. You don't necessarily want to undermine Michael Carrick to the players or Michael Carrick himself, because if you do keep a lid on it and you're successful at doing so, well, Carrick believes that he's going to get the job or has a very good chance to get the job. The players feel like Carrick's going to get the job or could very well get the job. They are very bought into this. If it comes out and it's like, well, no matter what Carrick does, he ain't getting it, you could demoralize him and the players. Although I feel like Carrick would get on with business, but you could demoralize the players that want him to stay. And also, it is sort of a big distraction while we're in the middle of a season that you don't really need. So, if that is true, I would applaud the club for doing such a thing, because I do think that's a smart thing to do. I think it's unnecessary sort of a circus that we need to be publicly to appease the fans, we need to publicly be going around announcing, yeah, we just talked to Nagelsmann, and then, yeah, we just talked to Carrick. And also, we just talked to Riola, just so we can make you all happy and stop bitching on the internet and on Twitter and make you feel good about yourself. We'll let you know everything we're doing so that the media can have a field day. And then when Michael Carrick goes to do his next press conference, they're asking him 700 million questions about him being replaced by some fucking guy while we're going to play a game in 3 days. Yes, it's Ben Jacobs. If it is him, he is a Glazer. Well, I don't know if he is or not. So if you think he is, fine. I don't really like the aspect of Ben Jacobs sort of becoming this, I don't know if I should call him a mouthpiece per se, but, he has this thing going on with the United stand where he goes on there like once or twice a week and he gives all these updates. I don't know. What I will say is I don't think he makes things up, but I don't buy everything he says as 100% fact, because you could have something that you think is accurate, but it's not. Media does go that way. I don't think he's making things up. He could be, but I don't really like this aspect that he sort of has this predominant voice now because he's the chosen one to go on the United stand out of all the journalists. But other than that, I don't know anything about the guy. So I just read what he says and we just talk about it. What if we backslide because the players have thrown so many managers on the bus? Well, but that's what I was kind of alluding to, and that's what sort of Ben Jacobs was alluding to as well. Like, that could be a possibility. I don't think this group of players would do that either. I don't think that they would necessarily throw any manager on the bus, because I don't think, listen, they didn't throw Ruben under the bus, and Ruben, they had a torrid time under Ruben, and it was very bad, okay? And they never threw him under the bus. We've seen players throw managers under the bus. We've seen them walk on the pitch. We've seen them not fucking try. We've seen them not give two fucks. Okay? That wasn't happening under Ruben. They just weren't performing well, and they were confused, and they didn't really get, or they really just couldn't do the job that he wanted, that he was asking for. But they never threw him under the bus. And I don't think they would do the same to Carrick, but it could be an inadvertent, like, listen, the situation right now is there is a certain amount, maybe it's all of them, maybe it's like all of them except for two, okay? But there's a certain group of those players that they are enjoying their time under Carrick right now. And if they were told that Carrick is going to be the manager, they would be very happy with that and go into next season very happily with it. Now, if you are sort of very publicly going after all these other managers and sort of painting the picture of, well, it doesn't really matter how well Carrick does, we're going to replace him anyway, well, you might make some of the players a bit sad or not as motivated. So I think it's better to keep, for now, everybody sort of in the dark about it, because you're not leaning it one way or another. In fact, if anything, the reports have been coming out that Carrick looks like he's going to get the job. So, in fact, the stuff that has been leaking is they're almost reinforcing the opposite, in that Carrick looks like he's going to get the job. I think Carrick would like the job, but I think Carrick's a lot more professional in this sense, in that even if they told Carrick, like, we're not going to give you the job, I think Carrick's obviously still going to go and do the same job that he's been doing. I don't think he's going to let it affect him because of his love for the club. And he would want to do the best for the club no matter what, whether they give him the job or not. From the player's side, it's best to keep them in the dark. And in fact, it's probably better to leak some things where they might see something that they feel like Carrick is going to get to the job. They are in the mindset of, well, he could, it looks like he's going to get the job. I have the opportunity now to impress the manager before any other new players come in. And I got to continue to perform and finish the season as strong as possible. We need to sack Wilcox, Carrick, get Nagelsmann, Stiller, etc., and rebuild. That's the dream. Well, they're not going to sack Wilcox now, are they? And listen, you could get Nagelsmann. I like Nagelsmann. I think either way that you go about it, if you give it to Carrick, you give it to Carrick. So, but yes, we could get Nagelsmann. It could still happen. We don't know what's happening on this front. I'm not going to stop talking about other managers. I don't know, what's wrong with you. This is literally what we do. This is what the show is for. We are discussing all possibilities, opinions, and thoughts on all topics. That's what this is for. This is what we do. So I'm not gonna stop talking about other managers. Yeah, stop doing live streams, yes. Natasha's here. Hi, Natasha. Close the channel. Well, listen, I'll close it. If we sign 2 midfielders and we sell Ugarte, or we sign 1 midfielder and we sell Ugarte, and we hire Gareth Southgate as a manager, I'll close the channel for good. Because that would be a disaster. But we're never signing Gareth Southgate. Let's all go home. I am already home, so. And you guys are home too. Unless you're on the go. What else did I see that we need to talk about? We have not gotten a report on what Harry Maguire's wage is going to be. I'm surprised by that. But we will see. I mean, listen, in my opinion, there's 2 routes here. And it's either or, and I think it's obviously fairly obvious. I'm not like bringing anything groundbreaking or it's not fucking rocket scientist either. I mean, we're either just gonna keep Carrick and what we got going on, or we're gonna get rid of Carrick and we're gonna get somebody else, and then we're gonna change what we got. If Carrick goes, Holland's not staying. Johnny Evans won't be staying either, and we'll get a new guy, and then we'll get a new staff to go around that. We don't get the new guy, then probably most likely all those guys are going to stay. And if not all of them stay, a couple of them will stay. And then 1 or 2 might get replaced because, again, we did sort of put this together on short notice. So, maybe some of them have done a job that they impressed and they'll keep them. Maybe they'll do it strictly out of financial reasons because they don't want to spend any more extra money and they'll try to do it on a budget. But, heard he took a pay cut. No, he did take a pay cut, but the thing is, how much of a pay cut? Because he was on 190,000 a week. So I mean, a pay cut could literally be 185,000 a week for all we know. We would expect it to be lower, but I would like to know how much lower, because I think that would it would indicate if it was actually really a good, like, I always said keep him, but give him a reduced wage. The wage has to make sense, because for me, Maguire, for example, he shouldn't necessarily be a starter next season. He's fine to be a squad option and depth and, experience and all that good stuff, but we do have to start moving on. And there might be parts of the season where we might have to use him, but going forward, the main plan should not be Harry Maguire is the main guy starting all of these matches for next season. He should not be really the guy considered to be the starter to start the partnership, because there's no real future in him. I had no problem with him sticking around as a squad option, but we do actually have to start moving forward as well, which I think you can do both if you just do it. Carrick assistant coach is Steve Holland. If Carrick stays, he should sack his coaches. Well, but here's the thing. Like, I don't think Carrick is well, Carrick likes Steve Holland. But the thing is, we put that together on short notice because we didn't really have any options. They didn't plan to sack Ruben Amorim. There was no plan to replace Ruben Amorim. They had to formulate one after they sacked him, because they weren't going to sack him when they did. He was only sacked because he said bad things about them in his last press conference, and then they had to do something. So on short notice, you get Carrick in, and there was whatever these guys available. Steve Holland, Johnny Evans came back after he just left the club, and whoever else is in there. So there is a bit of that as well. Like, if we do keep Carrick, I mean, you also have another decision there. They've done well together since they've come in. People would argue, like Omar is saying, he doesn't like Steve Holland. He plays Southgate football or whatever it is. Okay, so people would want somebody better, but you still have to make the decision. They have worked well together. Do you break that up and get some other people in to work with Michael Carrick, which could have an effect going into next season, because that doesn't mean that it's always going to be better. Maybe it makes things worse. Maybe it doesn't operate as well. No matter how you feel about those people and how good you think they are, replacing them with other people, it might not work well, might go horribly wrong. So you then have another decision to make. Are you keeping these guys that you've put with Carrick, or are you going to replace them with other people? The grass isn't always greener if you replace them with people. You would like to think it would be better because you say you're going to get better people in those jobs, but they are human beings. They have different ideas and personalities. They might not gel well together. Maybe they don't necessarily get along. Maybe they don't see eye to eye, So that is sort of another thing. And on top of that, I would say, if they're known for penny pinching, they might go down the penny pinching route as well and say, well, we spent a bunch on managers that we didn't really want to spend, but we fucked up a couple times, and so we got to do that. We don't really want to spend more money to go hire these other guys to replace them. It's probably cheaper to have Johnny Evans here and maybe Steve Holland compared to, some other guys that you could bring in. So they could do that as well. Carrick will be sacked by Christmas, Southgate in. No, I don't think that's going to happen. Have you had a haircut? Nope. I do need to go get one, though. He wants Steve Holland sacked because he doesn't like him. That's why. Natasha's Eric's mom passed it. Oh, she is not my mom. You're not wearing the necklace. I am. The necklace is here. It's just tucked in. Harry Maguire will come off the bench, help young players. Yeah. Yeah, we are not playing Southgate football. So, I mean, you say we're playing Southgate football. I 100% disagree with you. And I think it is the ultimate easiest thing to say we're playing Southgate football because Steve Holland literally worked with Southgate for England. And so, because he has an association with Southgate, we're playing Southgate football. We're not playing Southgate football. Southgate football is defensive, boring shit that was highly unsuccessful, and we're not playing that. So, Southgate was also playing five backs, and we're not doing that. So, we're not playing Southgate football. And I will also say, Omar, I don't think it really relies on Steve Holland being sacked is going to cause Carrick to fail. Carrick will fail if the club doesn't do what the club is supposed to do, like every other manager before him, and get in the proper players and have a proper structure and plan with the team and building the team properly and making sure that we don't have massive gaps in the team and that we can actually compete. So if they don't have a good summer transfer window, Carrick's fucked. And if it ain't Carrick and it's somebody else, they're fucked anyway. So it goes down to the club. You would sell Maguire and get Muriello. Yes, yeah. You would sell Maguire when Maguire's contract was up, and literally we couldn't sell him because his contract was up, and he could have went to any club for free. And then I suppose you would say, well, we just re-signed him, so now sell him, which will never happen ever because nobody's going to do that. And he's not going to agree to that. So, and we're not going to do that to him. So, whatever you're saying, what has Maguire experienced as failure for 6 years? Yes. Yes. He's experienced failure for 6 years. And Muriello, please tell me what's Muriello? Muriello is a serial winner. Muriello is a world champion. We're gonna completely ignore the fact that Harry Maguire received bomb threats to his house, lost the captaincy. Okay, his career was basically over, and then he's come back from all of that, and actually been a very vital and important part to our team. He's scored many important goals, and he's had some very, very, very good performances over the last 3 seasons. But we're gonna ignore that because he's failure for 6 years. Gotcha. Listen, instead of hiding it, I'll just tell you this. Instead of hiding it, just say you have an agenda against the guy, okay? Just come out and say it. Just say, I just don't like him. I just don't want him. I don't care how good he plays. I don't care what he does. I don't care. He could have 10 out of 10 performances. Don't care. Don't like him. Don't want him. Just say that instead of covering it, sugarcoating it bullshit. Because you're picking and choosing points in the argument. You're ignoring the positive stuff, and you're coding it with all negativity. And that's not the full picture. I don't like the football. It needs to change. We are not a joy to watch like PSG, Barca, or Bayern. Okay, I will tell you this, all right? And that's fair enough. But let me explain something to you, Omar, that I believe, okay? I agree. We are not a joy to watch like PSG, Barca, or Bayern. Now, can you please do something for me? Look at the players that PSG, Bayern, and Barca have, and compare those players, compare their quality, compare their technical ability, compare their ability in general, compare them to the players we have. And then tell me how you expect us to play football, to be a joy to watch, like PSG, Barca, or Bayern. Where I watched PSG yesterday, okay? And they're to me, they are the best team in the world right now. I don't think there's a better team out there. They're brilliantly coached. Enrique is a fantastic manager, and I agree the manager has a very large input into it as well, okay? But the biggest number one factor, the biggest thing that they did, the reason why PSG is what PSG is now, and people will say oil money, but it's not the oil money because they had oil money. They put a shit team together with 3 superstars that didn't work and they accomplished nothing. No. What they did was they got Luis Campos in as a director of football, who is probably the most brilliant director of football in the entire planet, and he put together an absolutely brilliant team of players that he handpicked and scouted, or didn't scout, but whatever, he handpicked and put them together. And under the direction of a really excellent manager of Luis Enrique, he's able to coach and manage them brilliantly, and all of that has gelled together. So how do you want us to do that when we don't have the players? We don't have a director of football on the level of that, and we're not going to get a manager on that level either. And if you get the manager and you don't get the other two things, the manager is pointless because they're not going to turn shit into wine, okay? They're not miracle workers. So we already have DeLit for that. He's a league winner. Okay, but you do realize, and again, I'm just so we're talking about the whole thing. I'm not picking on you, okay? I'm hitting back on the other side of things because I sort of look at all aspects. This is what I do. Yes, we have DeLit, but DeLit has also been injured for 4 months from an injury that was supposed to be 2 weeks, and he's not coming back for the rest of the season. So, what happens when that happens to DeLit again next season? We don't have the ability to do, and I agree we need to do some of the things you're saying, but we don't have the ability to do it all in one season. It's not going to happen. It is a fantasy. We need to do the midfield. We need a winger because we're already short in the attack. We're still short in the attacking aspect because of the formation and system change. And we do need a defender somewhere. But defenders, we need a left back, a right back, and at some point a center back. DeLit could get injured again next season, be out for 4 to 5 months, and we're going to have to sell DeLit, and we also won't be able to use him. Lisandro has had a couple injury problems over the last couple seasons. 2 big ones and now this one. What if he sustains another big injury next season? We're not going to be able to get, I don't think we're going to get a center back. We could get a center back, but I don't think we're going to. I don't think that's the plan. I think the plan is to get a left back or a right back. So keeping Maguire here for 1 more season makes sense because it gives us depth and it allows us to go 1 more year, 1 more season in so that when we get to the next transfer window, we can then address the center back position better. It'll be Wharton and Baleba. If United were going to get top players, the transfers would have been done by now. No. And I mean, I would say that those are still good players. Like, you know, but I disagree, Natasha. You know, what do you mean that the transfers would have been done by now? No team has done any transfers. No transfers are done. United need a whole new team. Not necessarily, but over time, to a certain degree, maybe so. I love Maguire with all my heart, but he should leave, honestly. Get the technical players and then get a top coach. That's how. Okay, but yes. But first of all, but we need the director. We need the people in charge of the club to actually do that, which I don't have a lot of faith in Richard. I was going to say Richard Arnold. I have a lot of faith in Jason Wilcox. So I have lots of faith in Vivell, but I don't know how much pull he has compared to Wilcox because Vivell is head of recruitment and Wilcox is basically doing two jobs as director of football and technical director. So and we need to build something for the now before we could get there because we can't. I don't think we can get a top coach. And I don't think they're necessarily. I don't think we can. I don't think we can get them. I don't think they want to come to us. And I don't think that they necessarily want to get these guys. Now, I don't know. Maybe they bend the knee a little bit for somebody like Luis Enrique. And they go, well, it's Luis Enrique. You know, he's got this proven track record. We don't need sort of just a coach. We could let him be, you know, coach with more powers. But they don't seem to be going in that direction. So and it starts with them anyway. I mean, they're the ones that hire the manager. They're the ones that buy the players. But to buy the players, the process of getting the players is one that takes time. Because to get the players, we're at a certain level. We can only get a certain level. So we have to get the best at our level and improve that so that we can sustain ourselves. The fact that we don't have sustainability and that we don't have consistency is a major problem for us. It starts at the top. Again, like, look at the job Luis Campos did at PSG. He got rid of the superstars. He took the money. He built the team. He got players. Nobody heard of Doué, and nobody heard of these other guys. Okay, some of them, but nobody heard of like Doué and these other guys before Luis Campos bought them. Okay? And he bought them for good prices. Young players. Put them into the squad. They all fit together. They got Enrique. Enrique's top coach, top manager. He's coached them brilliantly. And look how well-oiled of a machine they are. We're nowhere near that. And to get there, we're not going to be able to do it unless you do everything right over the next 3 seasons. So it's not like we could just do it today. We're not at that step. We're much further away from that. We don't have money PSG has. We don't have the people in charge that PSG has. Or Barca or Bayern. PSG, Bayern, and Barca have top players compared to United. It's because they are run differently to United. Well, yes. I don't think it doesn't have to take United a long time. It's just you could do it in 3 seasons if you do it properly. The problem is, can they do it properly? That's the ultimate question. And I don't listen, if you took Wilcox out and you bring in Luis Campos, I'd be like, we'll be fine. Because Luis Campos is brilliant. He's probably the best in the world. I think so. Maybe somebody has a different opinion and thinks somebody else is better, but I think Luis Campos is the best. He's a fucking well-proven track record. And if that guy was in charge of building our team and had the ability to do so, we'd be fine. You'd be able to do it in 3 seasons. Easy. But we don't have those guys. So it could take United a long time, because the route that we could go down is that ultimately this gets dragged on for a couple of years. It completely 100% fails and collapses. And then we just sort of straggle along until, I don't know what happens, you know? Maguire's 34, start Euro and Heaven. Yeah, but see, here's another thing. Like, I wouldn't start Euro and Heaven. I think starting Euro and Heaven together is a bad idea. I think both of them are still fairly young, and I think that that wouldn't necessarily go well because they are far too inexperienced in a very important partnership in a team that's part of the spine. What I would do is maybe make an argument to start one of the senior players, whether it be De Ligt or Martinez, and start one of those guys next to them and have it more balanced so that the senior pro can carry a little bit of the younger guy, and the younger guy can continue to develop and go over. I think it would be a very... I saw Heaven and Euro play together this season, and it was very shaky. Which is nothing wrong with that. It's not saying that they're bad. They just ain't ready for both of them to lead the line like that. I don't think Maguire should be a starter. I wouldn't start Maguire. I would use him throughout the season next season because we're going to play some 60-something matches. So we're going to need Maguire at some point. Rotation, whether it's for fatigue or injury or suspension, whatever it is, we're going to need him. I wouldn't start him. And if Matheus De Ligt and Martinez are both fit, I'm starting both of them as the starting partnership going forward. So we'll see. I mean, I don't necessarily expect Maguire to be the starting center-back next season. I don't think he will be. But it depends what happens with Martinez and what happens with De Ligt. Are they going to be fit? How long are they going to stay fit? Are they going to be able to play most of the games? Or are they going to get injured? United will have a tough season next year. We might. It's going to be tougher by default anyway, because we're going to be playing some 60-something games, and we're going to be in the Champions League and playing harder competition. Carrick will have 2 signings and told to get on with it. I don't believe that at all. And that's absolutely... There's just no way. There's just no way. Carrick will not get 2 signings and be told to get on with it. He will not. He will not. He will not. We need players, at least 3 center mids, 1 left back, 1 right back, 1 center back, 1 striker, 1 goalkeeper, but it's not happening. Yes, because we literally can't do that. So that's why it has to be done in phases, my friend. Whether you accept that or not, that is the reality of the situation. You can think that Ineos don't want to spend money. I'm telling you that could be true, but I know for a fact that we actually can't spend that money. We actually can't spend the amount of money to sign 3 center mids, a left back, a right back, a center back, a striker, and a goalkeeper all in one window. We don't have the money for it. Whether Ineos want to spend it or not, we don't have the money to do such a thing. So it's got to be done in phases. So your job as director of football and your job in charge of the football club is you need to assess the club and say, what is our ultimate right now weakest points that we need to fix? Obviously the central midfielder, and then you got to pick, and you got to be right in your call, but you have to pick. And the other positions, you're going to have to wait to address them later on. And your pick, that's why it's going to be very important, because you could go down the route and say, well, we're going to sign 2 center mids, a left back, and a center back, and that's all we can sign. So we're not getting a goalkeeper, we're not getting a right back, and we're not getting a left back, because we literally can't afford it. Those are going to have to wait for the next iteration. The choices I've made there, is that the strongest decision that we can make for the club at this current moment in time? Because you're not going to be able to get all those positions in one go. It's impossible. We don't have the financial means for it. Unless you want them to sign all those players and just sign a bunch of shit for 20 million each. We'll sign 3 center mids, they all cost 20 million. We'll sign a left back, he's 10, 15 million. We'll sign a left back, a right back, 10, 15 million. We'll sign a center back, 20 million. They'll all be shit. We'll cover all the positions, but they're all shit. Christopher Vivell is the genius. Well, Christopher Vivell is the only one that actually has a very good track record compared to the other ones. Like, Wilcox is, listen, the way I view Wilcox is like he's very average. Like, he's all right. You know, he ain't Richard Arnold, like, or Ed Woodward. He's not a banker. He knows some shit about football, but he's just like, I think he's just fairly average. I think Vivell is brilliant, and Vivell has a track record to back that up because of what he did at RB Leipzig. But unfortunately, Christopher Vivell is not a director of football. So, ultimately, Vivell could come up with the most brilliant plan and be like, listen, I did extra work, identified these targets, they're perfect. And you could look at that list and say, they're absolutely beautiful, Vivell. You're fucking spot on, man. The exact player, the profile, beautiful. Wilcox could then come along, look at it and say, yeah, that's a good job, but, you know, I want fucking Liam Delap instead of whoever you gave me. I want this guy instead of that. I'm not, I'll take like one player from the list you gave me, but the rest I'm gonna do what I want. Which could very well happen. But ultimately, this is what we have to deal with anyway. Like, they're either gonna get it right and we're gonna make proper progress and we'll be able to move forward, or they're gonna get it wrong and they'll eventually lose their job and they'll lose their standing. Like, Wilcox is sort of on his last thing here because Sir Jim will throw him under the bus in a manner, okay? The decisions that him and Omar are making with the manager, and then the decisions with the players that they're going to buy, based off of the processes they go through. If we don't improve next season, if we fail, if we go backwards, if we suck, they will ultimately lose their job because the pressure is going to flip back on them. The fans are going to be pissed at them. They're going to start going at Ineos very heavily again. And so Jim will throw them under the bus because they're the next one, because they've been involved in a couple of these things already, okay? They were involved in the Ten Hag thing. They were involved in sacking him and then hiring Ruben, okay? That didn't go well, and now they're here again. So if it doesn't lead to progress and the flames get turned back on them because they've sort of cooled now than what they were at one point, they're not as hot, okay? If it gets more hot again, Sir Jim will ultimately, at some point, he'll sack Wilcox. Maybe he'll sack Barada as well. Maybe he'll sack Wilcox first and keep Barada, and then maybe Barada will go later on if things don't improve. But it's either or. Either they get it right and everything's fine and we can continue moving forward, or they get it wrong, it goes to shit, and then they'll lose their job, respectively. Sip my red wine, taking all on board. I meant what you said. Fair enough. Last year we spent almost 250 million without Champions League. Yes, but not really, but kind of. I mean, on a balance sheet, it's not really done like that, is it? So when you get down to the nitty gritty, Sanchi, and you do the financials, technically we spent 250 million, but we didn't technically spend 250 million. Each deal that we sign, we only pay a certain amount. So it's all in budgets and stuff like that, allocations. My friend Arsenal did that. The board is crap. We do have the money. Yeah, Arsenal did that. Arsenal spent a large amount of money, and Arsenal are not in the same financial problems that we're in. And no, I don't. Listen. I think if you first of all, we don't even get the full financial picture. But if you just get the financial picture that's available to the public, okay, that right there already tells you we don't have the money. You're doing it's the problem is you're doing simple maths and it's not a simple math equation. Okay, you're saying we sell this guy, we get 150 million, we have 300 million, 350 million, we can spend 350 million. But that's not how it goes on the books. That's not how things get accounted for. So we don't have the money because we have expenses and we were operating under losses up until last year and we still have debt. And we're not even paying the debt back, we're paying interest on the debt. So first of all, we're paying just interest on the debt, which is like some 40 something million. Okay, we owe about 300 or 400 million pounds on transfers that we already completed that we have to pay per year. So that has to come out of somewhere. All right, and then we have to go and sign new players. So we don't have the money to do that, which is why we're not doing it. You know, it's not like some. This is where I get lost with the nihilism of the conspiracy theories. It's not like we have it's not like we can actually spend 300, 400 million and Sir Jim is just saying, we're only going to spend 150 and we'll keep the 100 and the other 150 so I could use it to take my private jet to fly to France or whatever, or put it in my bank account, or I'll put it in the stock market to make more money. Like, they're not doing that. The Glazers financially destroyed this club and pinned us into a corner, and we are trying to operate in the financial means that Manchester United can operate without putting the club in jeopardy of getting hit by FFP or PSR. And we have to operate within those constraints because of what the Glazers did, because of how they ran this football club. So United will not sign only 2 players. Stop saying that. It is the board who decide what players Carrick will have. Yes, and I will bet you any money in the world that they're not going to sign him 2 players. I don't care if it's Carrick. Pick insert any person you want and put them at manager. They're not signing them 2 players. But I like a glass of your red wine. Well, I got my own here, but it's too early to have a drink. I still gotta go work out. Jim Ratcliffe doesn't know what he's saying. Very, very, very much. Listen, I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing that at all. I don't think Sir Jim fucking knows anything. But sometimes you don't really need to know anything because, I mean, that's the point of hiring Wilcox and Omar. Now, if Sir Jim is getting involved and stepping on the toes of the people he hires, well, then that's a separate issue, and that's obviously a problem because Jim doesn't know shit. And I agree. It's quite obvious. I mean, you listen to Sir Jim speak, and it's quite obvious. He has a super, super limited and basic knowledge of football. Like, he is not. Like, we all know more than him when it comes to football. Now, that doesn't mean that it's guaranteed disaster, because sometimes in business, and I know this is a football club and people get mad when you link into business, but it is kind of like a business in aspects. Okay, you could be the owner. You hire people that do know shit and they make shit happen. which is kind of what I'm hoping, because if it's the other one, if it's Sir Jim is getting heavily involved and saying like, don't get that player, but get this player, we're in deep shit because he doesn't know anything and he should not be actually making the decisions. If he's just hired them and said, listen, this is the objective, do whatever you got to do to get shit done and make it happen, and he lets them do their thing, well, then that's obviously better than the other shit, because Jim doesn't know fucking anything. All right? So I agree. Jim doesn't know what he's saying. I just hope that Jim's not actually making a lot of the decisions. I hope he's basically given sort of the power to at least Wilcox and them. Because that's the worst thing possible, because Jim doesn't know shit. So if Jim's getting involved, it's just another story like some of these other sports teams. Like the New York Knicks basketball is famous for that. We have an owner, and he's known to meddle. And you then wonder why the Knicks haven't won a championship since like 1970 something or whatever it is. It's because this guy feels the need, because he owns it, that he can just overstep the people whose job it is to actually do the fucking things to get you done. So, Jim is running United like a business. Like Mike Ashley ran Newcastle like a business, and they played terrible, win for nothing long time. Well, but the thing is, Natasha, is that at the end of the day, whether people like it or not, okay, it is a business. Like, at some point, it is a business. It's not. There is money involved. There is financial implications involved. You do need to operate your football club in a certain standard of a way that is typically like some sort of a business. It just depends how far you go into that. But that aspect has to be there. I mean, it's the same thing for any club. I mean, you could say Bayern Munich don't do that, but they do it to some level, because you don't see Bayern Munich going and spending 600 million on players. They would be spending well above their means. They spend financially responsible. They make good decisions on the players they buy, and it keeps them in a good financial status. And also, it keeps their team in a good status, which allows them to continue what they do. So, we haven't done that. And Ineos are not responsible for that. The Glazers are. And the Glazers have done where we are now. So, to fix that, we do need to cut costs. Albeit, I would make the argument when it comes to players, that's going to help us make more money. We should be spending as much money as we actually literally can without putting the entire club in a fucked situation and jeopardy of getting hurt really bad, because it could all go to shit in one season. If we overspend, let's just put it this way. If we spend this summer to the point where it's basically like, we spend and whatever we do, we're taking a gamble. Just because you spend a shit ton of money doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to work out well. Instant example, look at Liverpool. They spent a shit ton of money. They bought all these players. Everybody was like, oh my God, they just won the league. They're going to be unstoppable, blah, 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 blah. That didn't happen, okay? If we did something like that right now, with the way our current financial standing is, and we did something like that, and we go into next season, and it doesn't go well, and we don't end up in the Champions League, the following season after that, we are completely fucked. We will not buy a single player. We won't buy anybody. In fact, we'll probably have to sell some of our best players, or some of our good players, just so we can get out of the situation that we're in. And then the following season will be just as bad. And the season after that won't be great. So there is certain limitations and guidelines. Like we cannot do what people come up in their head in this fantasy that we could just do whatever we want. We are not in that position. We are not Manchester United of 13 years ago. The Glazers fucking destroyed that. So whether you like it or not, one way or the other, if you want us to continue to have a chance, we have to operate under certain type of financial guidelines right now. And I don't necessarily disagree that Manchester United, like Sir Jim said, should be self-sufficient. We were self-sufficient. The Glazers fucked it up. And in our current situation, we have actually no other option but to be self-sufficient. So we need to figure out methods into regaining that so that we can then continue to progress. I don't think I would do a better job. If I'm going into that, the only thing I would do a better job in is maybe hiring personnel. But I have no experience in managing people like that. There's no way I would do a better job. We're doing stuff, people have to stop jumping to conclusions. Well, but listen, it's the thing is, I understand where they're coming from because the Glazers are here and they're still here, and Ineos has done a deal with the Glazers, and the Glazers are still in the background. So I get it. There's a lot of distrust, but I refuse to go all the way from one side to the other side and just keep jumping back and forth from left extreme to right extreme to left extreme to right extreme, because there's an area of conspiracy here, and there's a lot of uncertainty, and they could be right about some things, but I don't think it's all just black and white like people are saying. So United are just going around in circles. Well, we could be, but we'll find out, I guess. And that's just my whole thing. Like, we'll find out. Like, you know, the answers are always in the actions. So we'll find out. They have every opportunity to do something. And when they do it, then we'll know. And otherwise, there's nothing like, there's nothing that we could do about it. So this is why I don't really, I just say, I'm going to wait for them to do shit and then I'll react to it instead of reacting before they've even done anything. Like, people are literally sitting here telling me we're signing one midfielder. Like, okay, I get it. Like, you don't like Ineos and you think they're bad people, but like, that's like so far extreme that it's literally not reality. Like, it's not a possibility. As much as you might think they're stooges or Scrooges and they're cheap, they're not signing two players only. They're not signing just one midfielder. That's not going to happen. Not going to happen. They literally cannot do such a thing. It would be, even if their whole goal is to just make money, it's counterproductive to do such a thing, because if you sign one midfielder or you sign two players, United will go into 10th place next season. And if United go into 10th place, they're going to lose all the money that they want. So they need to spend to a certain degree. It will not be just Baleba and Wharton. They're not going to sign just two players. They won't. Telling you now. The most we'll sign, I think we'll sign 4. Lucky thinks 5. I think 5 would be good if we could do it. I went for 5 last season. We fell short by 1 player. 5 would be great. I think 5 is proper. 4, good enough, I guess. But I would always like to do a little bit more if we can. I think we'll get 4. I think 4 is set on the cards. and I expect 4. I expect nothing less. I think 2 is literally impossible. 3, impossible as well. Because it just ain't enough. It just ain't enough. And listen, if they sign 2, then fine. Let them sign 2. And, they'll be screwed. At the end of the day, it is what it is. Like, you know, whatever. I'm just trying to be logical about it. But if they want to sign just 2 players and say it's good enough, well then they're fucking idiots, and it's a really shit plan, and it'll collapse out from under them, and then we'll just see where we go. So, this fan base goes in too many different directions all at the same time. They hate Ineos and they want them to go, but they want us to do good. It literally can't coexist. Pick one path. They want Ineos to leave. They want Ineos to fail, but they want Manchester United to win. They literally cannot happen at the same time. It's literally impossible. So if you want Ineos to leave and you want Ineos to fail, well then, root for Manchester United to literally just do as shit as possible and finish in 15th place for 3 seasons in a row. And, maybe you'll get, maybe you'll get your dream of Ineos going. But otherwise, well, I would still consider Baleba and Wharton top players. So they're still very good options. It's not like we're signing Ruben Neves or something. They're not bad players. What if United don't sign anyone? Well, then we'll literally lose if we don't sign anyone. But it's never gonna happen. And also, I mean, the fans would probably lose their shit and go mentally crazy. And yeah, I mean, that's just, they can't do such a thing. They could. I mean, they could, like, technically, if they wanted to, they could. But what I'm saying is, like, for them to do that, there's no win for them in any area. So it's like you literally just basically can't, because it's just so stupid, such a thing to do. In what area does that help them? All the fans will revolt. They'll go crazy. They'll lose any support that they have. The team will suffer. We'll finish outside of Europe again. They'll lose money. Like, don't get me wrong. I do think, like, obviously part of their goals is to make money. Like, Sir Jim has put an investment in. He would obviously like a return on his investment at some point. The Glazers, they have a free investment because they never put in any money. So they would like the ultimate amount of money at some point. But to do that, the club needs to be some sort of successful anyway. And to get there, you do have to spend money. And you do have to buy players. And you do have to get shit right. Otherwise, you're going to fail. Like, this isn't like, it's not like they can really just sort of sit on their ass and do absolutely nothing, because it's not like things stay the same. Like, the other clubs will buy players and they will constantly be looking to improve. If we don't improve, we get worse. It's not like we stay in the same place. So they will lose money. They don't want to lose money. It's like, even if you look at it cost effective wise, they do have to spend a certain amount of money, and they do have to get a certain amount of players in to keep the strength of the level of the squad. Even if it's just to make the team consistently in the top 4, that you still have to spend a certain amount of money from year to year to do such a thing. So, but I digress. I digress. Listen, we're gonna get out of here. Okay. So we'll be back tomorrow. Probably 8:15, 8:30 p.m. UK time. Somewhere around there. 8:15 or 8:30 p.m. UK time. One of those times. We will be back live, okay? Because I gotta go take care of things. And yeah, we can't be running shows for 3 to 4 hours. So it's 2.5 hours in almost. So listen, I do appreciate the conversation. It was a good one. No hard feelings to anybody. Okay, if I came across a little bit antagonized or whatever that is, I think it was a good discussion. We hashed out many points. We had a actually very good, deep conversation about some things, and people bring up some good points in the chat as well. So it was good. And we'll be back live tomorrow. Thank you if you smashed the like button. Greatly appreciate it. And we did get to 3,310 subscribers, as you could see. Still never get that right. But thank you to the new subscribers. Shout out to Lyle, even though he's not here, but shout out for giving out another 5 gifteds. And shout out to the people that got those gifteds and our members. You do have exclusive little emojis that come with that, okay, that we made for the channel as well. So if you ever want to just, maybe you're not a chatter and you're a listener, but if you just ever want to spam some of the emojis in the chat, you do get access to those. And by the way, I would like to add more of the channel emojis. We do have more of them that we created. The thing is that, and this is so stupid, but YouTube limits the amount of emojis that I can upload because they go based off of number of subscribers. Not subscribers, but members, VIP members. So the more VIP members that we get, the more emojis I can upload, which is so dumb. Because why can't I upload 20 emojis no matter how many how many members I have? So there's like a tier. I don't know why there's a tier. It's really dumb in my opinion. But the ones that we have now are the amount that we could put. But I think with Lyle gifting, I should be able to upload a couple more that we made. So we maybe not for tomorrow, but in a couple in a couple days, maybe I'll upload those. I got to see if we've met the threshold, but we have these little emojis that we made for the channel. So yes. And obviously you get the little badges next to your name as well, and they're different colored tiers. And I've been wondering, who's going to be the first one. It'll probably be Lyle, but we do have all the way up to, I believe it's I think it's 2 years. So 2 years, you get the gold one. A year is silver. I believe 6 months is bronze. And then you have month 1, 2, and 3 is red, white, and blue. So I was looking at that yesterday and I was like, I can't wait until the one person will be the first person to get the gold badge. And then after somebody gets the gold badge, I'm gonna have to make higher tier badges, colored badges, because I only have the 6 so far. Red, white, blue, bronze, silver, and gold. And then we gotta go into, sapphire or ruby or whatever, emerald or something. So good night, sleep tight. Well, good night to you. I still have another 5-6 hours before I go to sleep, so I gotta go work out, I gotta eat, sit down, relax, watch some TV, maybe something like that. So yeah. But listen, we'll be back live tomorrow. Thank you everybody for the support. Thank you, appreciate it very much. Thank you everybody that smashed the like button. Thank you everybody that got involved in the comments. Thank you everybody that's watching in the background. I greatly appreciate it. Everybody have a good night. Stay safe. We'll speak tomorrow, and take care. Be good.